What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. This right here is the Infinix Zero 8, a pretty affordable phone from a somewhat unknown company, but a phone that brings some flagship specs and features to the entry-level market. So for specs we get the MTK G90T, we have 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of internal storage, not to mention that the phone can take 2 SIM cards and an SD card at the same time, so you can easily expand that internal storage. And for those of you that are wondering, this phone gets an Antutu score of over 280,000. And you already know that when you get a score that high, the phone will perform really well. So yes, I can confirm that this is one of the fastest budget-friendly phones that I've tried. And on top of that, we also get a 6.85 inches screen. This is an IPS panel with a 1080p resolution and a 90Hz refresh rate. Once again, something that you don't usually see with a lot of budget phones. So whenever you're scrolling through your feed on Facebook, for example, the phone does feel extremely smooth. So as I said, this is one of the quickest budget-friendly phones that I've tried so far. The phone is made out of a combination of metal, plastic and glass. So the back here is actually made out of plastic and you don't necessarily get that premium feel that you'd get from some other more expensive devices. But for the price, I feel that it's good enough. The frame here is made out of metal. On the right hand side of the frame we also have the fingerprint scanner, and I have to say that this is one of the fastest fingerprint scanners that I've tried on any budget friendly device. So all you have to do is touch that fingerprint scanner and the screen will unlock, and it takes like less than half a second for the screen to unlock, so very quick fingerprint scanner. At the bottom we also have a 3.5mm audio jack, so if you want to plug in some headphones you can. We have the USB-C charging port and the holes for the speaker. Unfortunately, this is the only speaker available. With other phones, we've seen a speaker at the top and one at the bottom. Well, with this one, we only have one at the bottom here, and it sounds decent, but definitely not the best speaker that I've heard. And this is a quick example so you can hear how the speaker sounds. Inside it we also have a 4500 mAh battery, and you can typically get between 8 and 12 hours of screen time depending how you use the phone. Of course, if you're gonna play games you're not gonna be able to get the 12 hours, but if you just watch videos you can easily get 12 hours on one charge. The phone also supports fast charging, so charging this from 0 to 100 is done in about an hour and 40 minutes. So for a budget phone, once again, the battery life and the charging is pretty decent. As for cameras, we have a lot of cameras on the front and on the back, more cameras that you see on a lot of flagships. So on the front here we have two cameras, the main camera and one that's a bit wider. So if you want to take some group selfies, you can. Now the quality from the front-facing cameras is just average or maybe just below average. But personally I was kind of expecting that because a lot of budget phones have to cut corners somewhere. So the cameras aren't gonna be the best thing about this phone. On the back here we have the main lens, we have an ultra-wide lens and two other cameras that are there mostly for marketing reasons. But the cameras do seem to do decent enough during the day and during the night. There is a night mode in there as well. The pictures may not look as good as you'd get from a flagship, but once again, for the price of the phone, I feel that it does decent enough. Now, it's been pretty cold over the past few days, so I haven't really been out with the phone taking pictures because my hands would just freeze. So I just took a few pictures around the house here. But as you can see, they do look decent. The maximum recording resolution with this device is 4K, but if you're recording in 4K, it doesn't seem to have image stabilization, or the image stabilization doesn't work as good. So you're probably better off to record in 1080p because the image stabilization works much better at that resolution. And these are a couple of examples of videos that I recorded with this phone the other day. Alright, this is a quick recording with the Infinix Zero 8 smartphone. So the maximum recording resolution for this device is 4K at 30 frames per second. That's the resolution that I'm filming with now. But the image stabilization doesn't seem to be that great at this resolution. If I switch the resolution to 1080p, the image stabilization does seem a bit better. But yeah, this is how a 4K recording from this device would look like. And for our second test, I switched the resolution to 1080p at 30 frames per second, and the image stabilization does seem much better at this resolution, as you can probably see for yourself. So 1080p 30 frames per second with the Infinix Zero 8. So up until now, everything about this phone did seem pretty decent considering the price of it, right? Well, that's about to change. So this phone runs Android 10, but unfortunately on top of that Android 10, there is a skin called XOS. And I have to say this XOS is the worst skin that I have seen in the past 3 years, I'm gonna say. It's kind of a combination of the MIUI from 7 years ago combined with Meizu's skin from like 8 years ago. So aside from the phone coming with a bunch of apps that you have to uninstall, useless apps, then you always get these pop-ups with the phone telling you to change the themes, change this, do that, install apps. It even makes random folders on your screen with apps that you should install. So XOS is garbage, I'm gonna say. Now, if you put XOS aside, everything else does work really good. That's the sad part about this phone. This could have been such a great phone with something closer to stock Android. So using any application works extremely well. The apps open super quick. There is no lag for any application. But then you exit the application and then you see XOS again, and then you get 3 more pop-ups about something that the phone wants you to do. So even though most applications work really good, I just cannot get over XOS. I've also tried the GPS unit inside the phone, and that one works great as well. It takes maybe a second to find your location. Once your location is found, it doesn't seem to lose it, and the phone does have a bunch of sensors as well. So to quickly conclude this video, this phone is great in many ways, taking in consideration the price. It is super fast, the screen looks great, we have a high refresh rate on the screen even gets brighter than most budget phones out there. So in many ways the phone is great, one of the fastest fingerprint scanners, kind of average cameras but normal for the price. So great phone in many ways except for XOS, but maybe for some people they may actually like XOS, maybe it's gonna show you some new apps that you've never tried, but that's definitely not something that I appreciate with my phone. My phone has to stay without any pop-ups, I don't need to know about any new apps or anything like that. So it may be great for some, but if you don't like all that stuff, this one may not be for you. But otherwise it could have been a really good phone. Alright guys, thanks for watching and I will see you in the next one.